Okay guys, what's up? And welcome back to BS2PCG Deck Forger. And for today's episode, we're going to do a matchup analysis of the ongoing Build Phase League Philippine Edition online tournament that is being held from April 10 all the way to May to 2021. So just enough time for us to finally complete the end of the community quarantine lockdowns. And so we're going to try to analyze for today, okay, the 10 players who are bidding their way for the championship of the Build Phase League Philippine Edition. So let's try to look at the first set of matchup that we did so far. So last night was a very good match between top players. Okay, so we have for the match number 3, we had Warrant Officer Ripley, played by Mars Supersticioso, versus the Outriders, played by catch-on player Mr. Dan Saniel de la Cruz. But before we go to that analysis of that match, okay, let's try to look first at some of the other players in the league. Okay, so let's try to share our screen with you. And this is now the matchup. Okay, so as you can see here, we have 10 players who are all vying for the top 2 final spot in the BPL Philippine League. So we have Cosmo, and he's from the Guardians of the Galaxy. We also have Invisble Woman from the Fantastic Four team. We also have Daredevil from the Defenders. And we also have one of our mainstay players here, Miss Captain Marvel from the Avengers. And of course, the new rising star of the Philippine League, Warrant Officer Ripley from the Wayland Yutani Company. And also on the other side, we have Magneto from the Supervillains. And we also have Mystique from the Femfital. And we have Jessica Jones also from the Defenders. And we have Nimrod from the Sentinels. And of course, the Outriders from the MCU villains. So let's go to the first matchup analysis. So we'll get to see Invisble Woman being played by a relatively new player, Mr. Janton Kwaki from the Northern teams. And we can see here that Invisble Woman will try to stall the game, okay, until they are able to reach maybe the 8th or 9th turn, wherein they are able to finally lay down one of the game breaker cards of PS2PCG, and of course that is Dark Phoenix. So Invisble Woman will try to use whatever power all she can muster in order to use her mass invisibility to, of course, try to hide or create that invisibility for all, okay, her characters, including herself, and try to avoid being attacked and being stunned in return. And we have to understand that Invisble Woman has only 5 health. So she's very, very easy to, KO with. On the roster of Invisble Woman, I haven't really seen the entire roster of the players, of course, just to be fair. But I think that, of course, one of the cards that we'll really see in that match will be, of course, Wyatt Wingfoot. Because Wyatt Wingfoot is able to create another pocket dimension similar to Singularity. And, of course, this will add an additional set of hand cards and, of course, resources and even supporting characters and equipment on the side of the player, okay, running Invisble Woman. And I think Invisble Woman is also powerful enough to be able to stop those aggressive attackers in the game because of her psionic force field and, of course, her very high defensive stats. at 4 attack and 10 defense. So I think the real gameplay here for anyone running Invisible Woman is of course to be able to stall those attackers, okay, from the early start of the game up to the mid game. So just enough time for her to survive and be able to ramp it up and drop those heavy hitters, most especially Dark Phoenix, during the last, okay, late parts of the game. So that will be on the 8th or on the 9th turn of the game. On the other hand, okay, Invisible Woman will be going up against Daredevil. And Daredevil here is run by one of our old players here in the Philippines, and he's Mr. Ark Zimmerman. And Ark Zimmerman will be playing Daredevil. Of course, Daredevil here we don't know yet if he's running the loyalty-based deck consisting of all defenders, supporting characters, and plot twist and location. On the other hand, Ark Zimmerman may try, okay, to go for, okay, the Black Widow Radar Sense hand lock style of gameplay. So what do I mean by this? Okay, so Daredevil, as we know, okay, he is 2-5, 2 attack and 5 defense with 5 health. So it will be an even match between Invisible Woman and Daredevil. They both have 5 health. Okay, but the difference here is, come level 2, Daredevil has 2 choices. So it's either he can stick to just being a level 2 and use the original Daredevil from the Defender set, and this particular level 2 character has Radar Sense. And so with this Radar Sense, okay, once it is activated, enemy players must rebuild their hands. Okay, they have to play their hands rebuild, and that is where the Black Widow from the Champions, okay, team will come into the forefront. Just because of her spy game, okay, she may be able to discard card from the Daredevil's opponent's hand, okay, if she's able to guess it right of what particular type of card, okay, is that. But the problem here, of course, is because Daredevil is running Radar Sense, then you get to see the entire hand of your opponent, and of course, the guessing is really not relevant anymore. So Daredevil here will, at the early turns, will try, of course, to discard, okay, all of his opponent's hand. So that will render him a very, very huge card advantage in terms of, okay, his available cards in hand, while the opponent is reduced to 0 or none or no cards at all. Okay, then here's also the option of going to level 2 with the card coming from the Legacy set. And with that, he can opt to go for the level 3 Daredevil. And this level 3 Daredevil is huge with a 7 attack and 10 defense. And he has also the Savior of Hell's Kitchen, which can prevent any further aggressive attacks on him once it is activated. And of course, this is where Daredevil will get advantage because he will have now an additional 1 health, okay, increasing his stats to a total of 6 health. So it might be a fair game, but I think with this particular match, we will not be able to see a very aggressive stance from both players. And that is where the good part is, because of course we may get to see a very long game for the both of these contenders. Okay, so that is for the match 1, Invisible Woman, okay, played by Janton Kwaki versus Daredevil, played by Ark Zimmerman. Okay, and going to match number 2, we have 2 veteran players who are, of course, going to try to battle it out. Okay, and the first contender, of course, is Captain Marvel. And Captain Marvel from the Avengers team, and that is specifically from the Cosmic Avengers, is played by Jaime Villaferte V. So Jaime Villaferte already has multiple championships under his belt, and most of them, majority of them, of course, came from using Captain Marvel. And for this particular match, I think Captain Marvel will try to go for the loyalty style of deck. So Captain Marvel here will be all Avengers because Captain Marvel has most of the very powerful team members in her ranks. And of course, she can have, let's say, from the drop 1 Falcon to increase her stats, and all the way up to the 8th drop, wherein she may get to have or be able to play the powerful Gilgamesh. Okay, a huge 16 attack, 16 defense supporting character. And the good thing here is, of course, Captain Marvel has 3 persona or 3 level up conditions, so she can go from level 1 to level 2 and from level 2 to level 3. And all of her characters, okay, all of her main characters, main character cards, all have strike ability. So from military background, of course, going to security background and going to a very powerful 7th sense. So think Jaime here will try to utilize Captain Marvel's strike abilities most of it as he can. And at the same time, of course, if it's a loyalty deck, then maybe Captain Marvel will try to run several copies of Stand Together. And Stand Together is a very powerful plot twist, of course, and we know that this particular card can negate any particular superpower. Okay, so very powerful enough for them to go solo or to go mono on this particular match. And going up against Captain Marvel is another veteran player from the Philippines, and this is Bimbo Blanco, and he will be playing Mystique of the Femme Fatale. Okay, so Bimbo Blanco hasn't been around ever since from the start of the pandemic, and I think this is going to be his first official tournament after several months of not being able to play because of the lockdowns and everything. But for this online tournament, he decided to use Mystique. And Mystique here is the classic Mystique from the Trinity, okay, deck of Trinity team of main characters, no, that includes Dark Phoenix and of course includes also the Mighty Thor. So Mystique here is powerful enough because of course we know that Mystique can copy any character, okay, with his basic stats. So she can actually start from a 1 attack, 6 defense stats, and with any copying using Masquerade, she can increase that outright. So if there's a 5 attack character on the board, and Mystique can actually copy that. And at the same time, what's good about this is, of course, with every increase in her attack, she gains that as many XP as she can. And also coupled with some particular plot twists like, of course, Savage Surprise or all the other attack pumps that Mystique has in her arsenal, of course, Mystique can really be able to level up very fast in this match. And of course, just like Daredevil, Mystique has 2 particular level up resort. So the first can be the traditional Mystique from the A-Force expansion, and this is the 6 attack, 7 defense character with martial savagery. But more or less, Mystique will try to go for the second one from the legacy set. And this particular Mystique, of course, has still bitter level up condition, which will drive her, okay, to go for the very powerful level 3 character. Okay, so the level 3 character has identity theft. Besides that, she increases to a whopping 5 attack, 12 defense, and her health increases by 1 for a total of 6. And with identity theft, of course, with the 1 yellow power symbol, Mystique can actually copy or get to, okay, choose any level 2 Marvel character in her side pile, and she can copy to that character. And of course, this is a very surprising ability because Mystique can convert into or transform into, let's say, a level 2 Deadpool once he's able to board wipe all the defending characters from his opponent's side. And of course, if the player is exposed okay, powerless enough to stop any attack, then Mystique can convert to the Deadpool and automatically activate Deadpool's KOing ability, which is he's able to knock out any player from the game. So I think this is how Mystique will try to run, or Bimbo will try to run this Mystique style of gameplay. So it will be a very aggressive deck. These two players, and we will see. I think we will see more action as we go about with match number 2. Okay. So match number 3, I think we have all seen it last night, and this is between Warrant Officer Ripley of the company, played by Up and Rising Star Mars Supersticioso, versus, of course, the Outriders. Okay, one of the most feared main characters from the MCU villains. And Outriders was played last night by Dan Saniel de la Cruz. Okay, so let's try to have a recap of that match. Of course, first game, when we watch it, Warrant Officer Ripley was able to ramp up with at least 2 sets of Mantis to be able for, plus including a Jungle Hunter, okay? So to be able to reach that 9 or 8 resource position, so that she was able to play Dark Phoenix, okay, early on and ahead of the Outriders. So as we can see here, of course, Warrant Officer Ripley has that Hide in Shadows ability, and it worked so well for Mars that he was able to hide Ripley during the early parts of the game. So even if Outriders have 6 characters to begin with, they cannot attack if they cannot see it. So I think this was a very good advantage for Officer Ripley in that particular match. Okay, but when it came to game number 2, okay, somehow Outriders got the lucky draw, and Dan Saniel de la Cruz was able to massively lay down his board, including a copy of both Baron Mordo and Killmonger. So Warrant Officer Ripley was able to ramp, and she was powerless enough to stop the onslaught of those Outriders. So it was game-breaking game number 2 for Dan Saniel de la Cruz. And when they went to the final match, okay, for game number 3, then I think the Outriders ran out of luck, and Warrant Officer Ripley was able to again draw those 2 to 3 crucial Mantis cards in his hand, and Warrant Officer Ripley was able to ramp again. Okay, very fast. I think she was able to drop Dark Phoenix during the 5th or 6th turn on Dan Saniel de la Cruz side. And so Dark Phoenix called out or announced, okay, keyword, and of course the Outriders all, okay, went down to ashes except for one. And it was very easy enough for very huge Dark Phoenix to, okay, attack that solo remaining Outrider. So it was a good game, and Warrant Officer Ripley won the match at 2-1. And Warrant Officer Ripley will now go to the next round of the Build Phase League Philippine Edition, and Outriders will still not yet out of the game, and we'll see if Outriders will be included in one of the 3 wild cards that will, okay, try to still go through or push forward with the game. Okay, so that was the result last night. So as you can see here, there are 6 Outriders that you have to contend with, and that is very powerful enough, okay, to start with. And for our 4th match, it's still to come. We have, of course, Magneto, and Magneto is played by a new player, Gino Byron, and Gino Byron will run Magneto, and this is the version of the Magneto from the super villains. Okay, and Magneto here, as you can see, okay, he is the one is on the more defensive side, and he has magnetic force field that can increase his defense by +4 during any combat. And at the same time, Magneto has okay, mutant supremacy wherein he can KO a face down resource. So Gino Byron here will try to go for the loyalty style. At the same time, he can also try to use the resource denial ability of Magneto in order to get the upper edge in this particular match. But okay, he is going up against the powerful Nimrod of the Sentinels. And of course, this is run by one of our veteran champions here, Mr. Albert Castro. And as you can see here, Nimrod is a very powerful character, but at the same time, he has a very weak level 1 character. He is 0 attack, 5 defense, but at the same time, he's also passive. But this is offset by the fact that he has regeneration. And at the same time, when he grows big, he gets really big when he becomes level 2. So he becomes an 8 attack, 8 defense character, and now gains both flight and range at 6 health. So the style of Nimrod, of course, I've seen how the Sentinels fight out in a match. So he will try to attack with their alpha units and their executive units first, and try to get as many as character on the board, gain the advantage. At the same time, try to prevent opponents from activating their powers and abilities by using such cards like Inhibitor Colors and, of course, the Mutant Control Act. And at the same time, Nimrod, I think I saw this deck before in a match wherein it will try to go forward, going to the late game and try to end it with a Dark Phoenix drop on the 8th or 9th turn. So this is how I saw Nimrod and his Sentinels try to beat out their opponents in a match. So we'll try to see if Magneto by Gino Byron will get any advantage, okay, during this particular matchup. Okay, and finally we have our final matchup. Okay, and I think this was done a bit while ago, and this is between Jessica Jones of the Defenders, okay, played by Alex Adan, versus the bad dog himself, okay, and this is Cosmo, played by Justin Cruz. Okay, so Cosmo of the Guardians of the Galaxy versus Justin Cruz. So let's try to analyze first. Of course, we can see that Jessica Jones here from the Defenders still has that flight and 6 health and 2 attack and 4 defense. Very similar to the supporting character that Jessica Jones has been known for with her supporting character. This main character also has stuff. But what is really advantageous here is her limited invulnerability. So for 1 green power symbol during any combat, Jessica cannot be wounded, okay, for the rest of the turn. And this is a very good combination with the tough keyword power, because of course Jessica Jones can literally stop any number of attackers, okay, from attacking, okay, those critical cards at the back once she is able to activate her limited invulnerability. You have to understand she also has flight, so she can fly. Okay, and at the same time, her tough will let her flip back into face-up position, ready to defend again once, okay, she gets stunned. So this is, I think, one of the key, okay, mechanics of the player, wherein he tried to use the Infinity Engine in running Jessica Jones. So this is where you get those multi-million counters, multi-million -1 penalizing counters, and to be able to discard the entire hand of the opponent. And this is done usually during the 5th, 6th, or 7th turn. Okay, so a very powerful combination. Now let's look at his opponent. And Justin here is playing Cosmo from the Guardians of the Galaxy. So Cosmo here is more on nullifying powers. Okay, so of course he has a No More Mr. Nice Dog and the Bad Dog ability, wherein he is able to name 1 keyword power every turn, and those powers are totally nullified for the rest of the game. And in order for Cosmo to level up quickly, of course, we have several other supporting cards, like we have those supporting characters that also get the opponent to lose their superpowers or keyword powers. And of course, those are Moonstone. You also have Scrag, okay, and of course, Ultimate Nullifier. And this particular combination with those cards is enable Cosmo to really level up quickly. And he also has very huge stats at 1 attack and 6 defense. And Cosmo, once he reaches level 2, now gains 3 attack and 10 defense. So Cosmo here will also try to stall the game, and in order for the player to be able to drop those huge supporting characters during the late game. And I think this Cosmo deck runs the likes of, let's say, the classic as a Warlock, and also the new Iceman from the Mutant Omegas, and also copies of the Dark Phoenix, because that is normally what the strategy is if you are a stall deck. So most of the stall decks here in the Philippines, they try to stall the game up to the 8th, 9th, or 10th turn, so for them to be able to drop those Dark Phoenix and try to control the game. And I think for this particular match, Jessica Jones was able to win by being able to drop 2 copies of Mantis during the early turns. So the player was able to drop in the Maker on the 4th or 5th turn of his opponent, and that was not enough time for Cosmo to set up his defenses before the Infinity Engine finally kicked in. Okay, so those were the matches that occurred here in the Philippines. And at the same time, I think Captain Marvel is up next tonight. Captain Marvel versus Mystique. Okay, and let's try to find out whoever will win in that particular matchup. And to give you a good highlight, good summary of what has already happened, we can see here that we already have 2 players who are now moving up on the board. And we have WO Ripley, played by Mars. She already is going to the next round, as well as Jessica Jones from the Defenders. She is also going to the next round. So whoever wins between Captain Marvel and Mystique will now go to the next round, and between Invisble Woman and Daredevil will now also go to the next round. And of course, the battle between Nimrod and Magneto, whoever wins in that particular matchup, will now go to the next round. And as you can see in our new board here, we have 2 wildcard entries. And I think whoever will lose in this particular matches, they still have a chance. Okay, so they still have a chance to be able to continue on with the tournament if they're able. They are luckily picked randomly to become one of the 3 wildcard contenders. So I think one of them will go against Jessica Jones, and the other 2 will go against each other. And whoever wins in those particular matches will now go to the wildcard entry number 1 and wildcard entry number 2. And as you can see here, the semifinalists, whoever wins between winners 1 and 2, and winners 3 and 4 will now go against the semifinalists will now go against wildcard number 2, and semifinalist number 2 will now go against wildcard number 1. And whoever wins in those particular match will now go on to the final rounds for the Build-Based League Philippine Edition. So that's it, guys. So so thank you very much for watching this video, as we give you a very good update on what is happening here in the Philippines. And of course, first of all, we'd like to thank our friends from the Build-Based League USA. Thank you very much to our sponsors, Mr. Benjamin Brosin. Mr. Ben, shout out to you guys. And also to my dear friend, Mr. Joe Vitelli, of course, from the Build Phase. And we also like to thank our sponsors, Treats for Them. So Treats for Them, okay, you can download the mobile app to order treats for your friends from abroad here in the Philippines. You can get it from the Google Play Store, or you can also visit our official website at www.treatsforthem.com. And we also would like to thank our official venues, Port Chubby Place in Las Piñas City and PM Apartments in Quezon City. So again, guys, until next time, this is your boy, Mark Iom. And thank you very much for watching, okay, the BS2PCG Deck Forger. And continue to shuffle, guys, even if we are in the pandemic and we are under lockdown, there's no way to stop us from shuffling and playing BS2PCG. So till next time, bye-bye!
もしもし